Chair recognizes Ms. Bush from Missouri for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. St. Louis and I are here today for a timely and important hearing to defend the planet itself. The acronym ESG has been used so much today already that I'd like to remind everyone what it stands for: environmental, social, and corporate governance. The relationship between the activities of giant corporations like Microsoft, Apple, and eBay have an immeasurable impact on our society and on our environment. By now, we all know that the health of our planet is fleeting. All you have to do is step outside, feel the seasons getting shorter and the temperatures getting higher. You just have to turn on the news to see the latest natural disaster devastating communities. You just have to listen to the scientists and climate experts who are telling us point blank that it is now or never. Act today or wish you had yesterday. My hometown of St. Louis ranks among the highest across the country in rates of asthma, with rates significantly higher for Black residents than white residents. ESG principles are the bare minimum corporations can abide by to protect the communities that serve as their domestic headquarters in cities like St. Louis. The cost of doing business should not be a lifetime of pollution for small towns and cities across this country. Mr. Frerichs, do Republican attacks on responsible investing practices actually increase the waste and mismanagement of taxpayer dollars? Yes or no?
Well,
and if so, how?
I think attacks that limit our ability to consider all factors, to have access to data, costs us, and this has been documented in other states. I think there's a misunderstanding of what proxy advising firms do. The secret right there is in the word advisory. They don't make these votes, the fiduciaries make these votes. And if a fiduciary decides to just turn it all over to someone else, that's their choice, but a good fiduciary will rely on their advice and other sources of information. We're part of several coalitions we get information from. The example I like to use is we're trying to get a good, clear picture of these corporations and their profitability over the long term. Now, you notice I wear glasses. I didn't always wear glasses, but the nature of my eyes changed over the last 30 years, and I had to take steps to see better. And when I went to go see an optometrist, they gave me a choice of 2 different lenses and said, which helps you see better? ESGs are different lenses to see. I say, okay, well, first lens helped me see better. They'll show me 2 different ones, and eventually, after looking through several different lenses, we'll get a much clearer picture. That's what ESG data does. It helps us to have a better picture about the long-term profitability of these companies.
Thank you for that. I asked unanimous consent to submit into the record a study by Wharton Business School professor Daniel Garrett and the Federal Reserve economist Ivan Ivanov on the cost of the 2021 Texas law to limit responsible investing.
Without objection to order.
Thank you. Mr. Frerichs, could you briefly summarize the findings of this analysis for us?
Yeah, back in 2021, the state of Texas passed legislation limiting the number of firms they could use for debt issuance. And because they limited some of the largest debt issuers, there was less competition. I find this difficult that I'm the one defending the free market and the ability to have competition and access to data and for shareholders to have rights. Because I think I heard earlier someone mention that asset owners who own utility stocks are telling them what to do, as if that's a bad thing. They are owners of these companies. What they found is by limiting competition, it was costing the taxpayers of the state of Texas an additional $300 to $500 million a year.
Thank you for lending your expertise. Strong labor unions like SEIU and AFL-CIO have fought long and hard to ensure large corporations and bad actors are being held responsible for harming workers. Workers should be able to determine if their state pension funds are being invested responsibly, and ESG principles are an important first step. Now, unions are on the front lines of the fight to hold corporations accountable for their continued pollution of our communities, whether fighting for paid sick leave, livable wages, workplace safety standards, and now ESG principles. We must support strong government regulations and oversight into all activities of large corporations. The federal government has an obligation to provide resources and solutions to the climate crisis at every opportunity. Congress must ensure that with each piece of legislation we put forward, that there is some component to it that addresses the climate crisis. Thank you, and I yield back.